Weird Al Yankovic's not so weird. Yes, he's a master of parody, but he's also a musician, architecture student, valedictorian, and so much more. Get ready. Weird Al Yankovic is about to share his raw nerve. Your interest in the environment is been long-term.
Is it?
Well, that's what I was reading, that you were aware of global warming.
I've heard of it, yes. You know, we try to be green. We just put the solar panels on a roof, which is something we've wanted to do for a long time. It's a big flat roof in a large house, and we figured that we might as well, you know, do what we can to
absolutely,
yeah, do the zero footprint. You know, I just put a down payment on an electric car, which should hopefully be in production 3 to 5 years from now.
I'm curious, because I know you did your valedictorian speech concerning the environment. So you've been concerned with the environment a long time.
Sure, sure.
Now that you've got, how old's your daughter, 6?
She's 6.
A 6-year-old daughter is going to fly right into the face of the warming world and the toxins and the things. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, it's a scary thing. I mean, I think everybody wants to make the world a better place for their children and for future generations, and you know, hope that we can survive as a species on this planet. The planet will certainly survive, but humans, kind of iffy.
Exactly the way I feel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you think about your daughter in that circumstance, what does it frighten you?
Yeah, well, of course it frightens me. I mean, I'm concerned, and you know, that's, you know, I certainly can't single-handedly, you know, save our race, but I think that I'd like to do my part and give it my best shot and hopefully set an example.
I have a story I want to tell you.
Okay.
And then you, talk to me about it. Tell me your impression. I did I was a host of a show called Rescue 911.
Oh, sure.
And we saved, we think, we got letters saying we saved 300 lives, and then they do the multiple, so we think we saved maybe 3,000 lives. Well, here's one life we saved. Here's the story. A couple with children it's nighttime, and the wife feels very ill. So the kids aren't babies, so the father says, I'm taking mommy to the hospital. So mommy and daddy go to the hospital, and they're sitting in the waiting room of the hospital, and they're watching Rescue 911. And on Rescue 911 is a couple who are almost dead of carbon monoxide poisoning. And the wife turns to the husband and says, oh my God, those are my symptoms, and our children are at home.
Gosh.
And they drive back to the house, and they yank the kids out, and they save the kids.
Oh, that's so great.
And apparently, that was something that...
From watching your show.
And apparently, that was something in your life.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's kind of weird synchronicity that we're doing this interview today. This is like the 5-year anniversary of my parents' death.
You're very moved right now.
Yeah. My parents were found dead in their house. Where
were you?
I was actually on the road. I was touring at the time. I think it was maybe in Wisconsin. Apparently they had a flue. The flue of their chimney was closed, and they died from carbon monoxide poisoning. I'm sorry. It's you know, it's the most painful moment and day in my life, and it's, you know, it's hard for me to go there, but it's just it was just the most horrible thing for a person to have to. I was very close to my parents, and it's just the pain and the grief was just indescribable, and it's something that obviously I still live with to this day. I just had to kind of, I lived in a lot of denial and depression for a while after that. I actually stayed on the tour because I felt like that would be a good way to kind of get my mind off of reality, you know.
Let me share something with you, a painful moment in my life. When I was actually shooting Star Trek, and I received a phone call at lunch hour, actually. My father had died in Florida, and I was in California. And I, too, had to choose what to do. I did get my father and take him back up to Montreal and bury him there. But when do you come back to work? How soon do you start work? Did I go to Florida right away, or what would I do during the period of time that the plane leaving from Los Angeles to Florida? I went back to work. I couldn't remember what it was I was doing, but I just went back to work. You did too?
I did. Well, it was, it wouldn't have been my choice, but I was on tour, and there were a lot of people depending on me, and their audiences were in their seats, and I just, like I said, it was a lot of denial. I was on stage.
So what were you?
Smile on my face.
Really?
Entertaining.
Wait a minute. That night.
The same night that I found out about
So
my
you
parents.
put the phone down.
I fell apart for several hours,
Right.
but then I pulled it together for showtime. And I didn't want anybody to know. I figured I didn't want it to be a weird situation where people were like walking on eggshells around me.
Right. And then the subsequent shows must have been harder, actually.
In a way, I thought they would be, and I knew it, at some point, my parents were going to pass away, and I'd have to deal with that. But I always thought it would be on a real kind of personal, private level.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought it would be at the same time, without any warning or notice, and that the whole thing would be so public. I mean,
Yes.
literally, it was like worldwide news when it came out. And I thought, I was just, I didn't, at the time, I thought that was just horrible, that I'd have to share my grief with so many
Yes.
people, but I just found, the outpouring of love from the fans was just overwhelming,
Al, I went through that very much so in my life, in public and all that kind of thing, and the press hanging around looking for a statement and not knowing what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do?
Immediately after the event, people were wanting, well, what's your statement? What do you want to say to the press? Like, I don't want to say anything to the press, I just like, allow me to grieve a little bit. Like, it's 24 hours later. I don't want to say anything. But, and then my relatives didn't want to say anything either. So in the meantime, they're printing all these things. Well, the neighbors down the street, who, and they're getting all the information wrong.
Right,
And
right.
it was so awesome. Finally, I had to put a statement on my website. I had to sit down one evening and just say, okay, here's the deal, and just kind of like set the record straight about my parents, our relationship, why I'm still touring. There was
Sure,
there was
there would have been talk about
the
you
most
still touring.
hurtful thing. There was some critic, I've purposely not remembered his name, but
doesn't matter.
but who said, who just said something to the effect that Al has decided to keep going on with this tour. I guess we know how much his parents meant to him.
Wow. Oh, my God. Just hearing that tears my heart. Oh, my God. See, I'm with you because I went through that. I went through the exact same thing. A paper was going to give the wrong facts and make it ugly, and so I thought I've got to do something. And you're just, there's no school here. You're operating from intuition.
Right.
In my opinion, you were absolutely right to go on working like that. I guess it's a peaceful way to go, isn't it?
Well, just look on the bright side. That was part of when I wrote my statement, for the website, and I was trying to kind of look at the bright side of a very tragic event, and that was that certainly. I talked about how at least they didn't have to live without each other,
Without each other.
the pain of like being alone.
Pain of being alone. That may be the foremost,
Yeah.
the largest element in a loss like that.
Yeah.
But people begin to fade, and now they're losing their strength
Right.
and enfeeblement and all.
But well, it's every day that I spend with my daughter, I think
how she would have loved her grandparents.
and them her.
Yes, of course.